Dear students, I welcome you on behalf of Thakur Vidya Mandir High School and Junior College for the remote teaching learning process, where our motto is let learning be a joy and teaching a pleasure. Let us move towards part 4 of chapter number 2, Sources of Corporate Finance, wherein today we are going to understand the meaning and types of preference shares. Students, let us begin with the fourth question, that is define preference shares and what are the different types of preference shares. Before we could move towards preference shares are those shares which carry preferential rights when it comes to and repayment of capital, which means that they enjoy priority shareholders in terms of payment of dividend as well as repayment of capital at the time of winding up of company. Let us know different types of preference shares. In all, there are 8 types of preference shares and are divided into 4 categories. Let us see what are these 8 types of preference shares. The first category consists of 2 types, that is cumulative preference shares and non-cumulative preference shares. The second category consists of participating preference shares and non-participating preference shares. The third category consists of convertible preference shares and non-convertible preference shares. And the last category consists of redeemable preference shares and irredeemable preference shares. Let us now begin with the types of preference shares. The first type of preference share is cumulative preference shares. Cumulative preference shares are those shares on which dividend goes on accumulating until it is fully paid. This means that if the dividend is not paid in 1 or more years due to insufficient profits, then this unpaid dividend gets accumulated and the arrears of dividend are carried on in the next year. This accumulated dividend is paid whenever the company performs well. Further, the arrears of dividend are paid to the preference shareholders before making any payment to the equity shareholders. So, these preference shareholders are always on a positive side, on a benefit side, because they do not lose their dividend even of a single year. The preference shares are always considered to be cumulative unless otherwise stated in the Articles of Association, which means that preference shares are considered or deemed to be non-cumulative only when it is specified in the Articles of Association. Let us now move towards the second type, which is non-cumulative preference shares. Non-cumulative preference shares are those shares on the dividend on which the dividend does not get accumulated, which means that dividend is paid only when the company earns profit during the current year. In the absence of the profits, the preference shareholders do not have right to claim on the dividend which lapses, which means that whenever the company does not make a profit in a particular year, then the dividend is lost forever. So, when the non-cumulative preference shareholders do not get dividend in a particular year, they lose it forever. They cannot claim it in the near future. Let us now move towards the third type, which is participating preference shares. Participating preference shares are those shares which participate in surplus profits besides the regular preferential dividend. Now, what are surplus profits? Surplus profits refers to those profits which remains or is left over after the dividend has been paid to the equity shareholders. Participating preference shareholders are entitled not only to receive their regular dividend, but they also enjoy participation in surplus profits along with the equity shareholders, and it is for this reason that they are called as participating preference shareholders. The fourth type is non-participating preference shares. Non-participating preference shareholders do not participate in the surplus profits of the company. They are entitled only to the fixed and regular rate of dividend. These shareholders cannot participate in the surplus profits of the company. Usually, the preference shareholders are assumed to be non-participating preference shares if there is no clear provision in the Articles of Association. They are considered to be participating preference shares if it is given in the Articles of Association. Let us now move towards the fifth type of preference shares, which is convertible preference shares. Convertible preference shares are those shares which enjoy the right to convert their preference shares into equity shares, which means that they do not remain as preference shares. In near future, they get converted into equity shares. So this conversion usually takes place within a certain fixed period of time. So the company provides a provision, a rule to this preference shareholders that in future they can convert their preference shares into equity shares. The sixth type is non-convertible preference shares. Non-convertible preference shares are those shares which cannot be converted into equity shares. They remain as preference shares throughout their lifetime. Let us now move towards the seventh type, which is redeemable preference shares. The term redeemable means redemption or return, which means that redeemable preference shares are redeemed or returned back after certain fixed period of time. The holder of these shares enjoy the benefit of getting their capital back after certain fixed period of time. Now, how does the company repay the amount back to the preference shareholders? Usually, the amount is returned or redeemed out of the divisible profit if it is available in excess, or the company goes for a fresh issue of shares, collects the amount and thereby pays the amount back to the preference shareholders. So, accordingly, redeemable preference shares are those shares which are returned back to the preference shareholders after a fixed period of time. Let us now move towards the last one, the eighth one, which is irredeemable preference shares. Irredeemable preference shares are those shares which are not redeemable, which means that they are not returned back to the preference shareholders. The amount of irredeemable preference shares remains with the company throughout the lifetime, and this amount is payable only on the winding up of the company. However, Section 55, subsection 1 of Companies Act 2013 says that a company cannot issue irredeemable preference shares, which means that a company is supposed to issue only redeemable preference shares, and accordingly the preference shareholders do get their capital amount back after a certain fixed period of time. So dear students, with this we have completed the 8 types of preference shares. I thank you all for your patience listening.